Let's go.
How you doing, buddy?
I have 5 kittens now.
Five. I mean, you thought you had three, and now you have five.
Yeah.
So please, please tell me how that happened.
Well, Sylvia's gray, and 3 of the kittens are also gray, and it's a rather relatively dark hole they're in. So I couldn't really count until she came out for food, and I looked in there, and lo and behold, 5 kittens. The black one's
Cool.
Asmo, but I'm trying not to name and get attached until they've been alive for more than a week. Because, oh, I have a red dot. There we go.
That's crazy. I mean, 5 kittens. I love kittens. They're the cutest. Only superseded by puppies. Um, yeah, whatever hatred I have in my heart for anything just melts when I see a kitten or a puppy. You know? Not so much for babies though. Not so much for babies.
The abominations.
I yeah, people are like, "Oh, isn't that baby so cute?" I'm like, "Not really." You know, they don't look done.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
Sometimes, but sometimes they're not. You know, and new parents, generally don't like being informed that their baby is ugly. So you usually have to lie and say, "Yes, it is cute."
I can find enough cuteness in almost anything that is not a lie.
There you go. There you go.
So,
Rationalizations.
we ended at a really weird time in
Yeah,
our
yeah.
last conversation. I just caught the last 10 minutes so I could be where we were at the end of the
Um,
conversation.
I can actually show you what that video game looked like that I made. I mean, video game, right? This is so bare bones.
Let's do it.
All right, let's take a look here. This is going to be a little embarrassing because I don't want to dox myself. Um, Let me see here. Well, I had a video pulled up. All right, share screen. Let me see if I can do this.
I believe in you.
I believe in me
You
too.
made a video game.
All right. So, can you see this?
Looks like some Britain place, if I'm not mistaken.
It it looks like Britain. I stole this from a satellite image of terrain and just kind of grabbed it out. But essentially, the idea is that this little character, is moving throughout the terrain and is interacting with, documents or YouTube videos or whatever, and he would be able to go around and um, essentially interact with the world, and the world would be made up of information. Um, let's see here. So there's another video, which is gone. So um, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I know it's super simple. It took me forever just to get to that point, you know. And uh, yeah, I mean, that was going to be it. I mean, that was literally going to be it. Was just we're hanging out on Discord, we're sitting here all night talking to each other, but this isn't a physical space. So there's or a meta physical space, right? So there's all kinds of disambiguation and just there's no skin in the game, so to speak. And my idea was that we're already spending all this time hanging out. Why not just hang out in here? You know, we can share links and it would be it we can share documents, we can share pictures, we can share videos, and you would be able to create, so to speak, a world right on that table, right? It was going to be lab rats on a chem table, and then the idea was you'd be able to save that, and revisit it at another time. So um, I imagine that teachers would be able to use this to teach different classes, right? Lesson one, you load in. Lesson two, you load in, and they would just drag and drop documents from their desktop and it would just display in the terrain. And so that was pretty much it, right? I just had to get the characters working. Just had to get multiple users working. Just had to get pretty much everything working. I didn't build anything. That's as far as I could get by the time the presentation popped off. So,
I like it and I
um,
hate it.
yeah,
And I want to say that like I, to the extent that I like it is like similarly the rooms in my Discord I try to make places like the general chat doesn't say general chat, it says it's the tavern. So like, you're in a tavern while you're there, and that kind of, and I would love it if there was like integration to where like you could have a different frame for the room to give it some locational context. On the other hand, I am vehemently opposed to like locking our people in VR, and that's the kind of thing that's gonna work best for that. Is where I put on the goggles and I'm there and there. And so,
yeah, yeah. I wanted to avoid that. I wanted to keep it as that kind of playful Animal Crossing avatar, just to remind you that like this is a game. Like I it really bothers me when I see people put those goggles on and they lose their balance, because that indicates that there's some physical disambiguation occurring. I'm not going to use that word again. I'm sorry. Um, there's there's some disconnect that your body is undergoing as because it's so good that you lose your balance, and that tells me that there's fundamentally a deeper interaction between your body and the computer than just using a mouse and keyboard.
hmm
You don't lose your balance using a mouse and keyboard. Do you get what
there's
I'm saying?
there's funny videos of people that like run into their wall in front of them. But
Yeah, I don't find it
it's
funny. I've seen those videos. And I'm not saying I don't find it funny because I have no sense of humor. I I just see that you are immediately lose just 10% of yourself of your awareness, right? At least. And that's terrifying. That's terrifying when you think about VR porn or the VR office or just oh, we don't have to meet for Christmas,
or
right?
VR prison where they don't let you take the headset off.
That's terrifying.
There's
That's so terrifying.
yeah, I back when I was still watching Netflix and stuff, they have the Black Mirror series, and
Hmm.
just the John Hamm ones are enough for to scare you away from the notion. And then like Spielberg has that Ready Player One where he predicts the future is that everybody like doesn't matter where your body is. It's like homeless in the corner next to a box, but you're and then the metaverse rolls out while everyone's locked up. It's just I don't know why more people aren't disturbed by the direction our society is going. But
Yeah, I think some people are disturbed, but it's happening so slowly. Like I never understood why you would put an Amazon Echo in your house. What is the point? You can Google anything on your phone. Do you really need to ask Alexa what time it is or like and we know for a fact that it's just constantly listening to you. And Amazon is using that information to sell you more products.
if you're
And
lucky, that's what they're using it for. I mean, I used to be a
if
medical
you're
transcriptionist, and the last gig a recruiter hit me up for was like transcribing multiple participant conversations, but you had to sign an NDA. And I was like, no, I'm not being part of that because I figured it was just listening to people's Amazon, whatever. But I'm not doing anything wrong, so it's so convenient. Like, the convenience stores are where you can buy all your addictions because it's convenient. I,
yeah. Yeah. So where were we?
you had
You
notes.
said
And then the last one you referenced was the "You have to love yourself first" one.
Right, right. And you said something very beautiful about how my soul is worth just as much as every other soul on this planet, right? Did I
Yeah,
get that right?
it has to be.
And
I mean,
I
that's the
asked if you,
foundation of our society, essentially. Like as eloquently expounded upon by Papa Peterson himself. Like the fundamental reason we don't convict people until we find them guilty is because they are of potentially infinite value.
all men are created equal, which is so untrue, they had to write it down. Yeah. Um,
Well, I think it's the equality of value is something beyond the physical, uh, and that's why the whole like the people they it's okay if you feed off people who can't control their own beast, who
mhm.
I think it's something like that. It's like that you can transcend your base desires and I don't know, ascend to some level of value to society or I don't know, it's still something I'm groping in the dark. But
Yeah, I think that at least the way that I was raised, there was a shadow implication in all of the morals and ethics and virtues that I was taught. And that was that all minds are created equal. And therefore, everyone has the same potential for reason, everyone has the same potential for will, and everyone has the same potential for potential itself, right? Same action, given the fact that the brain is really all you need. And I don't find that to be the case either. All brains are not created equal. People do not have equal ability to reason. They do not have equal ability to perceive. And I see this link between that and value or worth of the human being because I look at people with Down syndrome or mental disabilities. And this is going to sound harsh, but it seems to me that we all kind of agree that they're just worth less.
oh, I don't. Because like in the depths of my depression, I became very envious of them because the ones I encountered always seemed to be happy. Like like they live closer to grace than people who think too much. It's the value is I, I like it. I like it as I don't know whether or not reincarnation is true,
Mm-hmm.
or whether or not time is on a loop and we can be born in the past or whatever. But the notion that aside from the roll of the dice, that could have been me,
Yeah.
and so and it's that equality I extend. The closest thing to understanding it in a way that makes any sense is that we're all dreamers. Like even animals, as far as we can tell, dream. So, like one of my favorites that stuck is like I heard the Aboriginals call they call life the long dream, and I keep waking up in this body as this, but I always go back to where the dream time, and so that's at least one thing we can share.
Yeah.
I came across this
Yeah.
notion earlier this year that, like, according to the biblical creation story, God breathed life into us. And, like, while we're here, we're kind of, it was like we're God holding his breath, seeing how long he can pretend he's not himself. I don't know, but it was pretty.
Yeah, yeah, I can't help but ask if we do believe that all people have the same worth, or if we ought to believe that all people have the same worth, why do we allow for abortion?
Well, my woo covers that. My favorite woo is called The Raw Contact by like some lady, an obvious spook, and a scribe. And they channeled this supposedly fifth dimensional entity. And according to that, like the entities that come in for an abortion know that's what they're coming in for, and they just want to like take a ride in a womb. I want to do the womb part, but nothing else. Why we allow for it is because of a deviation of proper value, I think. But
Yeah, I mean it on if like right, if I just keep the space open, don't bring in right and wrong, don't bring in morals and ethics, right? But if I just take the thought that abortion is okay, like it's acceptable in some circumstances, then a ton of our other morals and ethics fall apart, because in my opinion, all of this, whether or not I hold the door for you, whether or not I'm wearing pants to this, to a physical meeting with you, like whether or not I shower, right? Like all these little micro ethics seem to stem, to me at least in my opinion, like they seem to stem from this idea of what a human being is worth, what other agents are worth. Like I remember well, I don't remember exactly the moment, but I remember a moment in my life when I realized that there were other people. I don't- like
what do you remember
I
about that moment?
I was a kid.
Well, it's good that it was that young.
I was a kid, and I remember I was thinking about. I used to pace around a lot as a kid and just kind of like flap my arms and stuff, but like I I had this thought that I would knock around in my head a lot, which was, I wonder what Tom Cruise is doing right now. Like as a kid, I'd seen Mission Impossible or something like that, right? And I was thinking like, I wonder what Tom Cruise is doing right now at this moment. And then I realized that it just hit me like a moment of clarity. Like everyone is doing something right now. Everyone, like, when you leave the room, you're seeing the hallway and you're seeing the car, and you're perceiving how cold it is, and you're having thoughts, and it I all of a sudden, almost like Professor X putting on Cerebro, right, and seeing all the billions of people on Earth. I had this moment where I could see all of them, and I was amazed at just how many different games were running. And and in that moment, I realized that prior to this, I really didn't conceive of other minds. I really, when you left the room, you were gone. You, like whatever we were doing at that moment ended, and that video was paused until we came back into, um,
It's like
until you came
object
back and
permanence, but for people,
exactly. Um,
like personhood permanence.
yeah. I was a kid. I don't remember how old I was, but I do perceive that other people are real. Um, much to my chagrin.
Did you ever like, as you got older, go into solipsism and like question it again?
What do you define as solipsism?
Like you're a figment of my imagination, but then so am I. If I think about it too hard, that's where I get. But like that we're one consciousness fractaled into billions of pieces.
So, not not materially like that, like not so harshly. I wouldn't. I would say I did begin to, and we touched on this last time. I did begin to question whether my perception of you was a figment of my imagination. Um, I noticed that when I listened to a radio voice, just a voice on the radio, my mind held a place for what that voice looked like. And sometimes it was just a big mouth, sometimes it was sort of a shaky head, right? But like the moment that you actually see Adam Carolla's face or Elliot in the Morning's face or Bob and Tom's face, right? Like you now know what you now know the thing, the creature at which this audio is emerging, and you can't unsee it from that point. And there, personally, there was a schism. There was like a break. There was two tectonic plates like rubbing up against each other, and there was kind of like a mental earthquake there, where I'm like, oh, I this is a different person now. Like the person that I was imagining is completely different, and um, and it made me wonder, like, am I doing this for people in real time? Because I've noticed that I've had professors or teachers, right? Like, the meme of the hot teacher who also happens to be very mean, but you know that she's hot well before you know that she's mean. And as you discover how mean she is, her hotness dissolves away. And And so is my perception of you simply a figment of my imagination, right? Because it appears that my perception of who you are, my judgments, my criticisms, my analysis is determining your physical appearance, right? And I know you can't change your physical appearance in real time. You can't transform. You're not Optimus Prime. So what's happening there? And I also do not I can't really believe anything. Like this idea that you may be a figment of my, or my perception of you may be a figment of my imagination, may be also a figment of my imagination, right? And so like there's just this like babushka doll of, they're just constantly keep popping out of like skepticism, skepticism, don't trust this, don't trust that. And it gets very difficult, because I've learned things about people that I've known for a long time, and they just transform right before my eyes, and it's distressing.
It reminds me of the way I understand Jung's take on like anima and animus. How like when you meet a lady that you get smitten with, it's because she's resonant with your anima, and then like as you get to know her, the pieces that are actually her start to shine through, and then you got to decide whether you love the actual person or just how much you thought she was the piece that fell into your puzzle. It's
I have a I have a joke that goes, the wedding vows are what you're supposed to write about someone before you know them. And you kind of notice that of like the, there's the meme of the freshly married couple that have remained chaste their entire courtship, uh and they write these beautiful poetic vows of like, I see the stars in your eyes and your hair smells like honeysuckle and blah 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 blah. Listen to the vows of people that have been like living together for 7 years, and they're just like, I love you, let's sign a prenup. Like they already know each other, so they're not gonna say all that flowery shit because they know it's not true. Right? They know that this person smells in the morning. They know that like they don't do the dishes, and they know that like they crash their car every 6 months, and so you're not gonna say all these poetic things about them because the person who you perceive is not that. It's not the beautiful starry sky anymore. It's uh just a smelly human being,
well, I
you
got
know?
I got Goodwill Hunting for that. That the part where Robin Williams talks about how his wife farted in her sleep, and like it's the unique things that make them them that you
Yeah,
ultimately love more than anything, because that's the irreplaceable part.
yeah, yeah. That's the other side of the coin. That's the other side of the coin. Enchantment,
I
I
mean,
guess.
one of the things that sticks with me is the end of Contact where she meets that dude and he's like, in all our travels across all of this, the only thing that makes the darkness bearable is each other. And I think with people putting on VR and going, oh, that's what we're at risk of losing. I mean, I can spend years playing Minecraft, but if there's nobody to show all the cool shit I built, how hollow does that get? How, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah. I like more than I care to admit. Most of the things that I've done in life were just to show someone and be told, "Attaboy," right? Daddy, watch my dive. Watch my dive, Dad. You know, like it. It all. You know, it all comes down to that. Like, please accept me. You know, tell me that this was good. Um, and therefore, how crushing it is when you fail. You know,
uh,
or at least when I fail.
they say, they say in the beginning, like, there was just God. And, like, I can't, I'm like, how lonely would that be? Like, I am all there is, and what, there's nothing else? Just me? Wow. Wow. No wonder creation.
Yeah, yeah. In that sense, God, you know, is pretty human.
Well, you know, apparently. Apparently. What else you got? Were there more
um,
notes or was that the end? You threw
I
them
have
away.
tons of I have tons of notes. Is the meaning crisis just a doom fetish?
For me, it's species telos. It's
Define them, Telos.
the end goal. Like, where are we aiming at? Like, for humanity had, like, conquering the whole planet. And, like, to the extent it's not a complete delusion, we could say that, like, getting into space and spreading out across the universe is a good suitable replacement telos, but we don't seem to be pursuing it with any vigor or exploring the oceans or anything. But we've industrialized and gotten really good at farming everything. And there's this monocultural creep where, like, like, you can go to McDonald's pretty much anywhere. Everywhere you go, it's the same thing. It's the same place. It's just different names, different people, whatever. And that is like, why? And so it's like we're not
Why?
we're not pointing anywhere as a people,
Why?
and that's the crisis I see. Is, I mean, you can chase money until you discover what fiat currency means and
Yeah.
fractional reserve banking.
Yeah, I just love the idea of like if we were hanging out, I'd be like, "Hey, man, you want to go to McDonald's?" And you just look at me and go, "Why?"
Why? So, yeah, I think that's what the meaning crisis is. It's, I think the doom fetish is a product of nihilism at like cultural, like, the dominance of atheism. It's like, it's just gonna end in the big heat death of the universe anyway. So, but yeah, I think that's the main thing is we're not aiming anywhere as a species. That, I mean, what do you want to cure cancer? And okay, but they're selling climate change real hard.
Well, it's getting pretty hot. It's, you know, it's I don't know, like it's clear that something's happening and it's clear that like the environment has natural cycles, and it's clear that we are also having an effect on it. But like
Have you heard about the
this,
pole flip?
well, wait a minute. Just let me say that like I live in a very sort of progressive place, right? I'm outside Washington D.C. and there's a lot of people here that sell the they proselytize their message, so to speak, right? And climate change is part of that. And what's really odd is that they'll tell you how difficult climate change is as they put their Christmas lights up. What are we doing? What are we doing? Like, okay, it might be a minuscule amount of power, but like, doesn't every bit count? Isn't this kind of the lowest hanging fruit that we can that we this is literally extra. This is so superfluous. Like,
No,
no.
no. The stuff that makes life worth living is never superfluous. And getting together to have a Christmas memory and share the whatever joy you had from your Christmas memory with the people around you now, that's way more important than not burning the planet down.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm saying that I'm noticing this inconsistency, right? If it's such a big problem, why aren't we looking at the lowest hanging fruit, right? It's kind of like my frustration with people that complain about the homeless. I've heard a lot of complaining about the homeless. I don't see any PB&Js getting made. The homeless appear to be humans that eat food. So before they need shelter, before they need a coat, before they need a job, before they need mental health services, they need food. So if you're not willing to provide that for them, what are you doing? You know, like
You don't
it pisses
complain
me
about the
off.
homeless. You complain about seeing the homeless.
And that's because they're not worth anything, right? That's we got right back to it. It's because they are worth less than you, and it makes you feel bad to know that. I'm not saying that's right. I'm
No,
saying that's probably what's happening in most people's
I
minds.
don't think so. I mean that might be the rationalization that kicks off in the mind, but for me, it's like an indication of impotence. It's like I can't help that. That's beyond
Mm.
that problem is beyond me, and I don't like seeing problems that are beyond me. I like things to be within my sphere of influence and agency to change, like to make a real impact on. It's like our system is bad, and I'm contributing to the system, and that's an evidence of its failure. And I don't want to see that because then I have to face that I'm complicit in the system that makes that guy homeless.
Yeah, I heard Papa Peterson say once that something that really rang my bell was in our society, in our Western society, if you have some money, you can get more money. But if you have no money, it's impossible to get any money, you know? And I I am reminded of that old Christian meme of people help those who help themselves. And I think that's partly what we're seeing with the homeless crisis is that and also I don't think that that phrase actually means what it means, or at least I choose to interpret it a different way. What people mean is if if people see you helping yourself, like cleaning yourself up, trying to get a job, right? Like you're putting forth some effort, they're willing to co-sign on that. If they don't see you putting forth effort, they don't want to they don't want to mess with it, right? It's just a waste.
Well, it's
What I
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say what I interpret the phrase to actually mean is people help those who help themselves in the sense that people help themselves to a piece of cake, right? I am the kind of person that sees the cake and says, "May I have a piece of cake?" I don't help myself to a piece of cake, right? And when you ask, you're often told no, right? But the person that walks up and helps themselves is given a glass of milk, right? People help those who help themselves, right? And that explains why it's so freaking expensive to be poor. Rich people are getting free stuff all the time, and it boggles the mind. But anyways, I'm sorry. I've been monologuing.
Well, rich people get free stuff because people think they're currying favor with said
Mm.
rich, powerful person, I would imagine. But with regards to the helping themselves thing, it's like, I don't want to enable your destruction. And if you're not even trying, then me helping you might be just enabling you. And that theoretically would be worse for you than you hitting rock bottom and saying, ah. So
So cast the first stone then, huh?
that's my favorite joke. It's like Jesus just said that because he wanted to throw the first one.
He had a really good one. He found a really good one.
But yeah, people don't want to contribute to problems they can't feel they're making a difference in,
Mm-hmm.
and that's going to be part of it.
Yeah, I
But
you
you can
know,
make a difference by donating to my Patreon before they banish me for off-platform activity, because everything you do is recorded now.
yeah, I mean, we should start talking about like horse dewormer or
I have a community strike on my YouTube channel, and it's for information that is now you're completely allowed to say it. I just said it 3 months early from a guy who's now got a great Substack on how he can finally see why people thought he was controlled opposition. But
it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
my like once things started popping off for my channel, I was like, I want to hit 1,000 so that like these people see me disappear when I do the monetization review, because I don't really want to help YouTube sell commercials for a living.
You don't. You don't say.
No, no. There's not much I want to do for a living, but contributing to stuff I honestly think is bad isn't one of them. And
Indeed.
it's people who I'm a person who has spent, I would easily spend 6 to 8 hours a day watching stuff on YouTube. I can. Papa Peterson helped with that because then I got to tell everybody, hey, I'm going to college online, kind of. I'm watching college lectures. Woo woo. But there's this disconnect from my neighbors. Like when I was a kid, I knew my family knew. I don't know if it's just because I was a kid. And so everybody's like, I need to know who all these people are since my kid's running around there. But like everybody knew what was up with the neighbors. And since 12, so 35 years ago, I'm lucky if I know who 3 out of 4 of the people who live on the same street as me are. Like, how many people in your own apartment building do you actually know for those apartment people? There's something been lost in the fire that we've crawled into these screens, and we have more in common with the people who binge the same entertainment we do than that guy next door who watches Fox News and that's dangerous to us as a species. Like this whole climate
Hmm.
change thing is like Agent Smith's speech from The Matrix. This everybody is a disease vector. Mask up. It's
It's the smell.
it's anti-human on a fundamental level, but it sells easy. So it's very concerning. The thing that got Vanderklay's attention for me was a combination of the Mouse Utopia experiments and the shadow matriarchy.
Hmm.
And like I tie it to the Papa Peterson talked to Paglia, and she called it out. That like all the women all got together and washed and like shared their wisdom and stuff, and that's gone because they took the family and they nuked all the extended family out of it. It's the nuclear family, and now it's the individual, and divided we fall, and look how
Yeah.
far we've fallen.
Add in some porn and don't raise wages for quite a bit. And yeah.
Hey, you want to go to war with someone? Wouldn't it be better if all the guys on their side were like squirting off? Porn's a weapon. Video games, like, I was streaming on this video game platform like Twitch called D Live. It had cryptocurrency lemons people could give me,
Mm-hmm.
and but it was like heavily China. And then China comes out with this thing that says we're cutting people's video games down to 3 hours a week because it's spiritual opium. And I'm like, well, then I shouldn't be on a platform that helps. It's the same thing with YouTube. It's like that's why I asked Paul if it was mission work because it's not healthy, and the only valid reason to be there is to help people not be there.
Yeah, I have something to say here, and um, yeah, let's just pull the car over to the side of the road because, like, I don't know how you're gonna react to this. I've tried to communicate this to a few people, and it's been given mixed reviews. I don't see what Paul and Vervaeke and Peugeot and Bishop von Berenstein like. I I don't see it as healthy. Um, there is a common denominator to all the people that I've met on Discord, including myself, and the spirit of winning is not present. Um, and so
The Philea Nikea or the Philea who?
Philo Nakia, yeah, I like all of those work like so like 90% of everything that's talked about, all that propositional knowing and the intimacy crisis and the meaning crisis and the ritual is being shoved down into into the knowing, and we're going to have intimacy with it through the sacred, right? Like where I grew up in the geographical location, there was a colloquialism that young men used to describe this kind of thing, right? And they would call it gay, right? Like this is
It's the chattering illiterati. The chattering literati.
right. Like it seems to me that the men specifically on Discord need to be told specifically to their faces, right? Get off the computer, call your mom, take a shower, fill out a job application, go make a friend, kiss the girl, like go do something. But that's not what they want to do. They just want to sit there and just go on and on and on about CS Clueless and GK Chesternuts, and like it blows my mind because none of these people are happy about where they're at. None of these people are satisfied with the world around them, but they don't want to. They want to complain all day about the homeless. No one wants to make a goddamn sandwich, and it's like, make a sandwich or shut up. Like that's how everything gets done, right? Like all this stuff you see in the apartment, most of it was found on the side of the road. How did I find it on the side of the road? Well, I had to get in my car and go drive somewhere, right? Like I had to hop on Craigslist and find these things and go, can I have it for free? Can I have it for $5? Can I have it for $10? Boom, there it goes. Great. And like I had to do that, right? It just didn't show up at my front door, right? To get my job, I had to go get it, right? And like, I had to bullshit my way through an interview, and then I had to bullshit my way through all kinds of tests and
evaluations just to get to the point where you could pay me for being alive, right? Which is essentially what most jobs are. And like, I don't know, I'm kind of ranting here. I apologize. I just
Have
like
I said
I
galactic banana? No. You may continue.
okay. Thank you. Thank you. I message received. Yeah, no, it's like I I really wonder, like, because I have a degree in philosophy and I barely understood anything, right? Whether it was Hume or Kant or Kierkegaard or even Aristotle and Plato. Like, yeah, it's all well and good, but like, what are you gonna do, right? And it just doesn't seem to me that our we're actually discovering anything about reality. It seems that we are moving farther, we're moving closer and closer and closer to what's true and farther and farther and farther and farther away from what's real. And I am interested in what is true and what is real. Gandalf, right, exists, but he's not real, right?
He's
You and I
more real
exist,
than real.
you and I exist, and you and I are real. And I just find so much of what Jordan Peterson says just isn't real. Like the realest thing he said was clean your room.
Well,
He could have stopped right there.
you got to you got into it and spent those years or however long cobbling together that game you showed at the front. What was that motivation? And is that not like at least the same flavor of what keeps the people swirling around the chattering literati?
You
Like,
mean adjacency to power or celebrity?
or so, feeling that like that's a better angle for you to make an impact on the world than going to work at McDonald's. It's like, here's a chance for me to do something, to be somebody, to make my way my way. It's like for me, it for like say 47 different people are saying, "Hey Paul, you should watch this." And so my essential notion was that like a blood black nothingness begins to swirl. That that can be filtered. Like you can break it down to the four interesting bits of that 3 hour show. There's no reason for 67,000 people to watch it when we can just pull out the four bits and have the 67,000 people watch that and bring us the bits from the other shit they're watching instead. And like that might be kind of like we could build another layer of information processing that's in between audience and presenter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the notion that could be built, and that we could become a system of cells interlinked within cells, that could like dreadfully distinct against the dark, a tall white fountain plays. That was a thing that could be potentiated. The Beholder project was like we're all in this village together, that we gather around this guy who presents something every day. So we all have the same virtual space that we share,
Mm-hmm.
and that together we can like up the speed of the information processing of the awareness by becoming little nodes that bring stuff back to the campfire together. And then, it's playing out the way it's playing out for whatever reasons I haven't figured out yet, or refused to examine. One of the two. But like that was my investment. And because like once the masks went on, like every plan and hope I had for a life in the future just evaporated. Like,
Why is that?
oh, we're getting to the point where they're not going to let me buy or sell anything. Like that, as soon as that die flipped, the mayor of this little town said like mask up or pay $700. Like I was like, okay, this is how they implement the cash control, how they turn your money off, just like Sandra Bullock warned us in the net. And like,
So was the $700 a one-time fee, or is that just the ticket citation for being caught without it in public?
I think it was just a citation. I never experimented and found out, but like for me up until then, the news had always been kind of a LARP. Like, this is what we're mad about this week: transgender bathrooms. Oh my god! But then this was everybody's playing along. They're treating this LARP like it's real, and and then now everybody's shooting themselves up with they have like, you can't put your thing in my daughter, but you can put that in my children. I know it's invented, but we got to keep each other safe. And I was like, wow, okay, so this is the end game, just like they titled the Avengers movies. um, the connections I make are hard to justify to other people sometimes, but
No,
so
I hear what you're saying, and on that topic, like,
and from my perception of everybody around me is like they weren't used to social isolation, and I'd been living it for over a decade, and like,
I was born in the dark,
yeah,
bred by it.
this is what happens to you guys. You end up like this. I know they're just starting it to you now, and it feels normal, but and so trying to be like, hey, warning, warning, also felt like I was helping, or the most I could do to make a difference, to be a character. I don't know.
Yeah, I had to make some very difficult decisions, um, given my job and my mom. She she got cancer right as the pandemic was popping off, and it was bad. Like, tumors all over her abdomen, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen, and she went into surgery, right, and they got all the tumors out, and then she had to go on chemo. And I don't know if you know anything about chemo, but it's poison.
Mm-hmm.
It's poison for your body, and she, started withering away under the purchase of that poison, and her immune system was so compromised that every medical doctor, said, not only does your mom have to get vaccinated, but you got to get vaccinated, right? If you want to see her. And I had a choice to make, right? Don't get vaccinated or don't see your mom. And I wasn't really sure when the last time when I would have my last chance to see her. And so I lined up for both shots, and I got to see my mom again. And I'm not entirely pleased with the fact that what I was told about the shot, it wasn't true before they said it. It wasn't true when they said it. And it's not true now. And they're still saying it. But I would do it 1,000 times just if it means that I get one more day with my mom,
Absolutely.
And, she got well. COVID went through her house, and we thought that was it. And looks like the vaccine worked for her. Thank God, I saw her just the other weekend. She revealed something to me that I never knew, and that was that growing up out of me
And my two sisters, you know, she said I was her favorite. And I'm not ashamed to say it. And that moment to me is worth whatever's going to happen to me as a result of what I've done. And I actually feel somewhat ashamed that, you know, people will make assumptions about my intelligence or my resolve. I've been called a coward, you know, but
For taking it?
yeah, you know, for not standing up for what's right, right? And I'm just done, you know, like I'm just done. Like it's over, you know. Can't go back. Move on, you know. If I drop dead tomorrow, I drop dead tomorrow. At least I know that I got to talk to GrimGriz, and like that's enough for me right now, you know. Like I'm taking it one day at a time. I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like, man, whether it's nuclear war, whether it's the democracy collapses, whether the fiat crashes, and whether all my bitcoins, right, get sucked up into nothing that they are. I don't have any bitcoins.
It ends in a Dyson sphere around the sun as the value of electricity to mine them goes up. So don't contribute to that. But see, okay, we can back away from the deep personal stuff if you'd like.
No, it's okay. I mean, ask me anything you want, right? I didn't mean to bring us down or anything. I just,
No,
in this space, there isn't much space to tell these stories or say these things. So I appreciate you giving me that. I felt it was God's will to tell you. And I don't believe in God.
he believes in you, Tim. That's my favorite part. Is like, do you believe in God? Does it matter if I believe in him? It matters whether or not he believes in me. And like, I I think that the first half of the Bible was the invention of global middle management, and that whether if Christ was the Christ, his ethnicity was irrelevant, but there's everybody's when they say God, they usually mean the Christian God or the Abrahamic God or whatever.
Elohim, Adonai.
And I think the most reasonable thing to me is the stitching things that were genetically engineered monkeys that designed to mine gold. Because like now that we've been made in their image, we've put our genes into monkeys. So it's like clearly a fractal. We seem to be some sort of abomination on this planet. But that doesn't mean like, I don't know, that my soul aches, that my heart can break. That means that the materialists are missing out on something. It's like they're looking for evidence of God and not in their heart, and that's where they're gonna find it if they do. But
Have you ever witnessed something miraculous?
ever witnessed something miraculous? There was no kittens, and now there's 5. You know, life is this fancy thing that eats itself to get one over on entropy, and just the way things play out, like kind of that the moon works out, that we always see the same side of it. Like little things like that. There's so many little things like that.
Isn't that? And it's just the perfect distance to cover the sun perfectly,
so that we can see exactly what we're on.
Yeah, there's way too many variables that line up just so for there not to be something beyond our comprehension at play here. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not nothing. And if the atheists are right, then I have no reason to kill. Like atheists are trying to kill me because I have no reason to be here other than like the potential existence of a soul and or reincarnation or some other mystery. Otherwise, why would I be here with you horrible, horrible people who care nothing for anything but yourselves? Me too, but so like it's life or death whether or not atheism's true. But Bender and Fry met in a suicide booth. So there's something to be said. Well, there's stories going on, and I don't know what story I'm in. Like the biggest selling point of the Christian faith for me is like you get to participate in the Jesus story. Well, that's a good story, so maybe. But
The thing that enchants me most about the Christian story is forgiveness. Forgiveness appears to be miraculous to me. Like to embody and practice forgiveness is antithetical to primitive life, right? If you see a dog snatch something from another dog, they don't forgive each other, right?
they
You
forget
watch
soon enough.
They forget soon enough, but they do not forgive, right? You watch lions going after a carcass. There's no forgiveness there. And so how amazing it is that we have been given whatever you want to call it, freedom of will, compassion, consciousness. We have been given this arresting behavior to say, no, stop. I forgive you, right? I am not going to commit this retribution. I am not going to take what's mine. I am not going to embody the natural law. I'm going to embody a higher law and let this go. And in fact, I'm going to welcome you in and make you pasta and put Parmigiano Reggiano on it, right? And say, man, it's good. It's all good. Like, I've never seen an animal do that, you know? And so when I hear people say, oh, we're just a mammal, like, no, we're not. No, we are not.
Forgiveness, I've come to understand it mostly from dealing with the dogs in my life recently. It's like if you would just stop the horrible thing you're doing, everything will be fine. And it's just that's it. Just stop. I'll forget. Just stop raping those kids. You fucking pedophiles. Just fucking stop it.
Knock it off.
Just don't do it. I mean, I don't know, but putting faith in the existence of redemption, it serves me. So I have to, if I want it to serve me, I have to extend it to everybody else, or I don't get it.
That's just like you said when we were talking about the homeless guy or the mentally disabled person, right? Is that could be me. That could have been me, right? Just one roll of the dice. And
well, there's so much we don't know about existence. Like, you might have to live through the life of everybody you hurt when you're done with this one. You know, that might be you. You might have to play that game. Like, we wake up like this. You don't know what you're going to wake up in tomorrow or afterwards, or if you're going to stop waking up. This is just too unknown. So, I don't know.
well, Grim, you know, you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
That's true.
I don't know. I find people say those things just to distract themselves from the fact that like they're being intentionally hurtful. Like, have you ever heard someone say it's not personal?
It's just business.
It's just business.
And why do we hold business in such esteem?
everything is personal. Everything is personal. There is not some other Tim that gets up out of bed and goes to work for me, right? If it's happening to you, it's personal. And if you're not sure whether it's personal, ask yourself, would this thing happen to President Obama? Would this thing happen to Scarlett Johansson? Because I'm guessing it wouldn't, right? And in that case, it's personal. It's happening to you.
Or to a person. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, that's good. I have nothing for that.
I stumped the Grizz.
No, I just. Where do we go from that? Everything's
Well,
personal.
we could go to the Amish,
Yeah.
or what is a reptilian?
A reptilian? Okay.
I've heard you describe someone that I know as a reptilian, and I'm inclined to agree, but I'm interested in your take.
If it's the person I'm thinking of, you can tell by the tongue thing. But my take on it is that humans have this brain, and at the base of it, they call it the reptilian brain, and that's the part that. And then, like above that, we have something else, and then we have the big, nice imaginary part.
Is it also referred to as the lizard brain?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking
yes.
about?
So,
Yeah, okay.
so if you don't want to believe in reptilians, you can say, well, they're just humans operating from their reptile brain instead of the more kind, loving, socialized frontal lobes. If you believe in evolution, you can say that there's this one of my favorite conspiracy yahoos is called the Lacerta Files, and it's this guy gets to interview this reptilian named Lacerta, and what broke my mind about that was that one of the claims in there is that like we were the sixth version of humanity, and there's a lot of like underwater cities and ancient stuff we don't know about, and so that helped explain it. But the claim there was that reptilian species was the one that naturally evolved from like the dinosaurs and whatnot, and they live underground here, but that also the Draco aliens come in from the outside to farm us humans.
Yeah.
And so there's like scientists believe in this thing called dark matter, and they tell us that the universe is made up of like 76% dark matter.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So to me, that's them saying, we think we know about 24%, guys. Trust us.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I entertain a lot of notions that most people won't.
We have no idea, guys. We have no idea.
So, I don't know. That's, to me, the reptilian thing is inhumane. Inhumanity. Not inhumanity. It's like the kinder, gentler, emotional stuff. Like
Inhumanity.
life that doesn't operate on that level. It's like,
One who does not know forgiveness. I mean, not as a rule. I'm just saying. I'm yes-anding, right? Yeah.
predators that see softness as like what makes life worth living to me is non-existent for them. They're operating on the reptilian level, and so I don't have much. I don't trust them very far.
I don't trust them either because they do not appear to be. They don't appear to be able to be reasoned with. Like I just told you a very personal story, right? And I hope I didn't come across like a pusillanimous cucktard, but I've told that story to a couple people, and I always it makes me feels, and I've noticed that people extend love when they see the pain, and the reptilians
see just nothing. You know, like
Very
it's not a
zero.
song.
Yeah.
It's not a song to them. It's just noise. Like so much of our speech is melodic. It has tone. It has rhythm. But while I hear a song, they just hear information. And
You don't really care for music, do you? That.
yes, I do.
No, no,
Yes, I
the
do.
hallelujah line.
Yeah.
The people who have hurt me most in my life, like, don't really. They don't. Music doesn't crack them open like it does me. So
Is that your favorite song or just one you like?
that's one I like. I like the Jeff Buckley version, studio version. It's like there's versions that, but yeah, that's one of them.
I'll send you a version of mine, and you can pick it apart. I recorded it for a girl, and it worked.
Gee,
Um,
your
are you
offspring could have this musical talent.
dude? The Offspring. Okay, all right. So I worked for Guitar Center for like 5 years, and we used to have epic, weeks long arguments about like whether Green Day was punk and whether like just you know was Metallica like is it classic metal, is it thrash, is it just you name it, we talked about it,
But
right?
you
And
unanimously agreed that they were shit after the Black Album, right?
I mean, let
No?
me just say, I'll just say this, that like we were all very fond of the South Park episode about Napster, right? When they're like, oh, Laos will have to wait a
Laws.
whole month to get his gold pool. You know, we all recognize that they were aging, you know, that they were aging out of the mystique that once was, right? Like the things that we knew about them, the things that that it changed our perception of what they were. But um, they had one single, like I don't know, maybe 7 years ago. That I look. You're probably gonna leave the Zoom call when I say this, but like I actually like Saint Anger. Okay, the steel snare does it for me.
There was parts. There was parts, but it's no and justice for all. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Unforgiven. I mean, come on.
that's okay, but Cliff when they still had Cliff, man,
Rest in peace.
lucky sacrifice.
True Hulot's cool. I mean, that braid is sick as fuck, but you know,
Anyway, you had epic long arguments at Guitar Center.
yeah. And I like no one would agree that The Offspring is a great band. Like, I love The Offspring, right? And yes, they play one song and they play it over and over and over again, and I just happen to love that song. You know,
Which one?
I'm just saying, like, they're all pretty much the same. Like, whether it's Americana or Ixnay or Kids Aren't Alright or Gone Away or Staring at the Sun or Have You Ever, like it. I love them all, and they're very simple. They're very similar to each other, but I like that song. Shoot me.
For me, that Gone Away one, I think, is the right one. It landed at just the right point in my life that, like, they'll always have a soft spot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there's like this peak part of your age. I don't know if the Gen Z people are going to get this at all with the way the flood of content. But like, there was this coming of age thing when we're choosing what your music was like, how you knew your people, and so stuff like that. If a song landed at the right part of your life, like Third Eye Blind, God of Wine, jeez. But all right, I think we're dropping the viewers. We don't have this recording at this point,
Rapidly.
so
Rapidly.
let's
Well,
wrap it up.
I appreciate you, sir. You know, you've given me way more time than I should have taken.
And we got that epic rant out, a deep
Thank you.
personal story. And I got to say
Yes.
chattering literati, just like Papa Peterson did. So let's call this a win all the way around.
I think so. I think so.
And if the audience demands it, we'll do it again.
Absolutely. But we can't give them everything they want. So, you know, remember that. Like if they love it too much, then it's like, we're going to have to keep that in the pocket. But I just wanted to say that I'm very grateful to you for doing this. I know this is difficult. I, I know that I'm just some guy, right? And so, like,
Turns
the
out
fact
so
that
am I.
but the fact that you would do this, it says a lot about your integrity, your character, and your virtue. And you help me more than I'm helping you. And I just I love you for that. So thank you, sir.
All right. And as our good friend John Vervaeke says, the access of to consciousness you get depends on the content of your character. And at least there's that.
And now we will bring the end of modernity.
Let's bring it. Let's get back to enchantment, baby. Let's LARP it up.